we're on a winner. We're still about, I reckon, half an inch below the stock height of the original steering box. So we're tucked up higher, which is fantastic. You can see the angles of those two uni joints. The one on the rack's almost, 100% dead level. There's no bend in it. This one's probably got a, I don't know what you'd call that, but an angle, but there's no binding. I can actually turn that around and it spins quite freely. So that's pretty much it for the mock-up. What I'm going to do now is basically tear it all down, fully weld up these brackets that need fully welding. I am going to put a disc across here just to protect this part of the bevel box. Being aluminium cast, you don't want that smacking on a speed hump because these are getting pretty hard to find these days. So I'm going to make a little fabricated bracket across that. And then tear it all down, powder coat all the bracketry that needs powder coating, and then do a final assembly, and we are ready to get it on the road and go for a drive. So let's get onto it. We'll make this final little disc protector, and then after that start doing the teardown. Okay guys, here's the parts all hung up on the rack, and they've been just blown off with some compressed air from the sandblasting cabinet, and then we wipe them down with some denatured alcohol or acetone, just to wipe down any impurities, grease, whatever else you might put on there, snot from your nose, COVID bits and pieces, who knows. Yeah, so that's all, they're all ready to go. So the next thing I do now, just before I do powder coat them, is I just run a flame. I just use one of these little burners, and that's really just to burn off any lint off the rag, because you're wiping all the parts down with this, and it can leave little bits of microfiber on there. So we just get this little guy here, turn it on, try and do this one-handed. And we'll just give that a burn off. Quick pass over it. Righto, so they're all burnt off and clean and ready to get powder coated. Next thing now, we've just put the oven on. I've just woken him up, he's in there, he'll help us out in a minute. We're just getting up to temperature now, and 200 degrees, I think 420 Fahrenheit, 200, something like that. Okay, so here they all powder coated. Look pretty good there. I'm still a novice at this, I think there's a few little spots I might have missed inside, but it's steering parts. I'm not too fussed about it. It actually looks pretty good. Most of them, there's a few little spots where I couldn't quite get the powder in, but as long as it's all sealed up from the elements, that's all I'm worried about. And yeah, no, she's looking pretty good. All right, we're just waiting for the oven to get up to temperature, and then we'll pop them in. Okay, so here's the parts steaming out of the oven. There's still a little bit of smoke coming out of the chimney on that one. But there we go, all powder coated and swinging around, swinging in the breeze. But yeah, no, they've come up pretty good. I mean, they're only suspension steering parts, so you're not going to see them. They're going to get covered in dirt, but better that than them rusting up. and you know, just giving him a lick of paint. So that's job done. So I'll let these suckers cool down, and then we can start the assembly process, putting them all back into the ute. I've still got to repair the steering wheel because when we popped it off, it exploded into 1,000 pieces. So I've got to, all the Bakelite's just so brittle. So JB welded it all back together, but I've got to sand it, prime it, and then give it another coat of black 2-pack. So that'll be the next job before we can actually drive it. But at least I can get the rack in there and all these parts finished. So stay tuned, we'll keep moving. Okay, so here's all the components put back in, all powder coated and nipped up. You can see I've added an extra gusset across the side of that one, and also I have a little bash plate on the front here too. That's just going to protect the steering box from getting belted. You can see it's still pretty tucked in up under the bumper bar there, so it's not an issue with clearance, and we're not running a low bus here. So that's that bracketry done. You can see there how it's gone up to the mounting point there, and everything else has gone pretty well. So I have actually had it off the hoist and given it a test. It's amazing how tight this is. If I just grab the uni joint here and just turn it, it's like instantaneous. I don't know if you can see that, but as soon as you turn the steering wheel, immediately the wheels turn. There's absolutely zero slop in this thing. It's amazing how. Probably can't pick it up on the camera because I'm wobbling. Anyway, so that's that. Now, being this is just, you know, a full experiment doing this whole process, one thing that has happened, and I kind of knew it was going to happen, was the quickness of the ratio of the rack. And it is a bit of a problem with this manual rack. Unfortunately, when I took this out, it's got about 5 turns lock to lock, and it's just too busy. Like, if you really have to start turning the steering wheel to get the thing to turn. So being a manual rack, obviously the ratio in the car that it was out of is totally different to this. So the power steering rack is only, I think, 2.5 turns lock to lock. So that is going to be a lot closer to the stock VW box that was in here. And I was just chancing it that it might work, but in the back of my mind I kind of thought this rack that's in here now is not going to work. And it was really just a proof of concept to make sure that everything was going to work here. It's not a big deal to swap it out. There will be, the power steering racks are slightly longer. So what happens is this section just here will be a little bit closer to the shocker on both sides. And that's really the only difference. Obviously all the plumbing gets disassembled, but the ratio is what we're after, which is going to be a lot quicker. All these mounts still stay the same. This is really just a proof of concept. I have taken it for a drive just up and down the street, and it worked fantastic, just apart from that input in the steering, having to turn it more and more times to get the thing to turn. So I'm sure you get used to it, but for me, I want it to be a little bit closer to how the stock feeling is. So we are going to swap out this this rack for the power steering run. Yeah, so you can have a look here. If I turn the steering wheel, you can see how stiff that is, and any little bit of movement you can see straight away transfers to the wheel, to the tyres. So it's pretty good. Definitely pretty happy with that. And you can see all the columns all being powder coated as well. And I don't have the rag joint popping up through the floor here, so we just have a flange flush on the floor, and that just gives us a bit more room around the steering column. And also it gives it a more stock look inside. You really can't tell, you know, if you look inside here that anything's been modified or changed. Okay guys, so here we have the rack and pinion version 2, and now we have put the power steering rack in, which has the quicker ratio. So as you can see, the points, the mounting points are the same. The only real difference with the power steering rack is it's a little bit longer in this section here. So it comes a little bit closer to the shocker. You still have plenty of room there. And obviously there's no lateral moving in the shocker. It's only going up and down. There's, you know, probably 15mm through there. Everything else is pretty much the same. Picks up the same points for the tie rod arms, and the uni joints are the same as well. So a lot better with the ratio. We're on about 2.7 turns lock to lock instead of the 5.5 turns on the manual rack that was down there. So I've got a couple of other racks there, another Daewoo rack for a mate's conversion, which we're going to do at a later stage. But all in all, this is a success. You can see what I've done here with that bracket. Just made that a little bit more beefier. Put a bash plate on the front just to protect the bevel box, just in case you do get close to the ground. Like I said, this has only got the flip spindle, so she's not running super low. And if you look there, you know, we're only about that much off the bumper. So stock height's a little bit lower than that. But all in all, everything has gone to plan. Now, the only other modification we need to do is the horn button. Now, obviously, because we can't run the wire up through the shaft and through the bevel box, it causes an issue with earthing off the horn button on the steering wheel. So we have to put a remote button on the dash somewhere for the horn, or I might look into a wireless horn button which will sit inside the actual button itself. I'll see how I go. I'll get that done at a later stage, but for now, let's go and take this thing for a test drive with the new rack. Engine needs a little bit of a tune still. We're not quite there with the tune. It's got a little bit of hesitation. You can hear it. I think our mixture's just a little bit out, probably from adding the brake booster. But not bad. Very tight streets we're on here, so watch out for traffic. Hesitation there. car steering. Absolutely stoked. Definitely needs a wheel alignment still, but apart from that, pretty damn happy. So really happy with the fact that there's no play in this at all. It really steers like a go-kart. It's amazing. So anyway, that's going to be it for this rack and pinion video. So I hope you enjoyed this conversion, and we will move on to other bigger and better things on the 1963 muffin top ute. So signing off from this video, we'll catch you in the next one. Yoo!